So, I'm doing a bit of a showcase series, and I want to show off Last Epoch today. Now, this little game is a Diablo clone, I guess you could call it. Now, personally, I don't like that term. I'd prefer hack and slash, RPG, but most people will know this is a Diablo clone, so that's fine. Now, Last Epoch is a €29 game, so it's pricey, and it's whatever your regional equivalent of that will be. It's made by a company called 11th Hour Games, and they have only released Last Epoch from my knowledge. There might be something else hidden somewhere else, but this is what I know of them, and this is the only thing I know of them. Now, I'll show the characters here. They're very well animated, and it looks great, but I'll show you the settings first, because that's important to me. Now, the gameplay settings is the best part of the game, easily, but is in the best part of the options. The rest, I'll get to. So it has a filter option. If you have a loot filter, you can get one. I think for most Diablo clones, I wouldn't say it's mandatory, but it's pretty important. Yeah. Now, graphics, you'll notice something here. If I scroll down, you'll see that I don't have it on the highest, and there's a reason for this. The game does not run well. Okay, it's not great. The game runs halt, and that's why I've got it lowered, because it's not good. Like, the game's not very well optimized. But they are working on that, as far as I know. So take from that what you will. Now, the sound of the game, as you can hear here, it's very good. The music is pretty good. It's a bit samey in my opinion. But I don't think people who play these kinds of games care too much. I mean, if you have a great banger like the Diablo sound, Tristram, for example, like, come on, everyone likes that, but it's hard to follow up that. So I will show you the game completely. I don't know, we'll write that something. Now, the game does not function like Diablo does, like in terms of character development. So in Diablo 2, or Path of Exile less so, but Diablo 2, you picked a class, you leveled up, you put your points in, you put your attributes in, and then the gear is what decided what kind of character you made, right? This game has a bit of this too. It has gear that you can craft and change and do all that cool stuff with. But the class is where it really shines, in my opinion. Like, this is the best part. So obviously you have your natural whatever, but this,
I am the acolyte.
I will not spoil this too much, but I'll let you listen.
Countless books and countless fools. My master was a kind man, but he was as useless as the others. My ambitions took me elsewhere, to the arts forbidden by the elders of the city. I was found out and exiled. They feared my power. I've learned so much in my travels since, but word has come that Welryn has been conquered. I would like to see this with my own eyes.
All right. So that's the kind of voice acting that the game has in general. It's not too bad, but I will say you won't notice much of it.
I wonder if any of Welryn's elders remember me. They'll realize exiling me was a mistake.
You get a bit of tidbit there. Obviously, the start of the game is very cinematic. Like, you have voice acting, you have blood even, which you'll notice later doesn't exist, okay? But, again, it's an early access game. I don't know if I mentioned that, but it is. And how do I feel about that? Early access games I have a troubled sort of fight with, I guess. They are... A lot of them have, like, they're as wide as an ocean, but as deep as a puddle, right? That's my main problem with them. And it's not great, some of them. But then you have some really good success stories, where you have really good early access games that turn out to be a very good game. Hoping this is one of them. But I will say it's about 30 hours in this game that you have in terms of gameplay. It does last quite a while. It's not too bad. Now, you'll notice that I leveled up, which, yeah. Now, the game, like I said, did not function like Diablo 2. So what do I mean by that? Well, each class in this game has 3 subclasses tied to them. So Necromancer has Lich, Warlock, and Necromancer has Lich, Warlock, and Necromancer. It's called Acolyte, right? But I always... It's basically a Necromancer, let's be honest. So if you go in here, you'll notice that the various subclasses here are locked, right? And you need to spend 20 points in here and do a quest to unlock either of them. Now, this is a talent tree in a much similar way to MMOs like World of Warcraft used to have. So you spend 20 points in here and you unlock these skills along the way, right? Everyone gets these if they're an acolyte, right? It's not different or changed. Now, the interesting bit here is that you get to pick your whatever. So let's say we pick Necromancer. Now you'll notice that you have a weird chain here in the middle, and I'll get to that. So if you pick Necromancer, you'll get the skill Summon Wraith just for picking it. And then you can pick these and continue picking. And as you progress through this, you'll get the Abomination in the end, right? But even if you pick Necromancer, you can still sort of dabble into Lich, sorry. But you will not be able to go past this chain point here. This is a hard cap. So you'll get Soul Feast, Aura of Decay, and Drain Life, no problem. But you will not gain Death Seal or Reperform, right? That's a mastery skill. So this allows you to tweak your character a little. Now, you can only have 5 skills at any given time. And some people will have a problem with that. They'll think that's way too low. But let's be honest, if you play Diablo, if you play Path of Exile, you only use 1 skill anyway, right? In most cases. But in this, it's a bit different. And the reason is because skills level 2. It's not just you. So if you go into Summon Skeleton here, you'll notice pretty much immediately that this looks weird. So you can kind of tweak each skill and each sort of ability, I guess, into whatever. So this has some preset things. Like you'll notice that it veers off in many directions. So if you were to go this way, 5 points here, you go up here, you can say like, oh, you know, you can only have 1 skeleton warrior, right? Only 1. You can no longer have 3. It's just 1. But you can sort of tweak them. So you can either stop here, so you can only have 1 warrior ever, and then buff him up ridiculously. Or you can continue and remove skeleton warriors and replace them with just archers. So it allows you to tweak the skill, and you can have 20 skill points in this. So you get 20. So you can see there's quite a bit you can do here. Because you know, these little nodes here in between, they are what you need to progress to the next sort of section. So it allows you to branch out, tweak everything. Everything about your skills in general. And every single skill has this. It's not just, you know, a few of them. No, all of them do. And some of them are interesting, and some of them are pretty good. So there's quite a lot of choice here. And all of the skills, I wouldn't say they interplay with each other a lot. Because like that's one of my big complaints, is that some of the skills do actually sort of bounce off each other, right? But a lot of the other skills don't. Like Druid has quite a few skills that sort of piggyback on each other. So you can kind of create little synergies. Like a Druid will have like a transformation skill, so you can turn yourself into a werewolf or whatever. And then at the end of that transformation, you can sort of like transition into another form when it runs out, because they're limited, right? So you can kind of like bounce, sort of say, bounce between. But some of the classes don't have a lot of this at all. And Aqua is one of them. They're very focused on each skill individually, instead of having skills to sort of interplay. Now, the campaign, it runs about 30 hours, I'd say. It'll be different for every player, you know. Someone's faster, some slower. It's fine. And it's early access, so it's not finished. And they're quite slow with updates, I will say. They're not the fastest bunch. Now, the game, like I said earlier, didn't have sort of the same path as in character progression as Diablo. Another thing it does is crafting. So every item in the game has this little note modifier on it. See that? It says forging potential. It's just under spell mana cost on the traveling staff there. That means this item has 16 potential when you craft, and I will show you exactly how that works. We'll play a little longer here until I level. I can show you roughly how it works. Now the combat, I mean, it's another big complaint of mine is that the game systems, the systems of the game, so the various interlocking systems, that's good, right? But the animations, the feel of the combat, like when you hit an enemy, when you use a spell, it feels very flat. And if you really look, like if you really look what I'm doing, you can see what I mean. Like it feels quite flat. Now, for the most part, that's not a problem. Like when you play games like, I don't know, older games like Dark Alliance, whatever, it always felt kind of flat. It always felt kind of... You were swinging air all the time. Like you didn't feel you hit anything. And I think sound is a big part of that. You'll notice that the sound, it feels kind of flat. Like it has like one sound for every single action. So slicing, that's that sound. You know, beating with a hammer, it's that sound. So it feels very weightless, I guess. I mean, necessarily it's not a problem, but it's just something I'm gonna mention because it could be better, and it's a shame that it isn't. Now, yeah, the game has shrines or whatever else you'd imagine. So this is quite straightforward and easy. You pick whatever you want here. So let's say we pick this. Now, you may have noticed something. I got an attribute point there that I could have picked, right? In here, you could pick intelligence, right? Now, these are quite interesting for this game. So, in like other RPGs like Path of Exile, Diablo, whatever, the stats like intelligence, strength, agility, whatever, they're quite there's a lot of them. So you have like 300 agility, or in Path of Exile, for example, and it increases quite a lot. In this game, there's less of it, so less sort of stat points overall that you get on new gear, but they mean more per stat. So intelligence has to do with ward retention. Ward retention is the thing that it gets added on top of your health, like you can see there, and it decays, but ward retention stops that. And there are some skills in the game that sort of add a lot of ward retention and then it decays away. So you can use ward retention to sort of like snowball, I guess. Now, vitality is health. Yeah, health regen, health. Yeah. Attunement is quite interesting. It's basically mana regen, but the mana in this game is quite punishing. Very punishing. And I will log my Sorcerer and so show you what I mean with that. Strength is melee damage. It's whatever, right? So ward retention is probably the most interesting part of the game in terms of like survivability. So I will kill that, and I will hop onto my Necromancer that's a bit higher level to show you a bit of the end game and the crafting. And after that, I will show you the Sorcerer here, City, whatever. And I will show you what I mean with punishing mana and why it doesn't work like you think. So the game has no mana potions at all. You have potions down here, and it's basically Path of Exile system. What that means is you kill enemies, you get more potions dropping from them, and that will get added here. You know, they have 4 at a time at any point. So that's a system I think they should fix or change. Now crafting here, like I said, forging potential, that's all that matters. So this one right now has 10 forging potential, right? And you see these already has like different attributes here. And I can increase these by clicking and then seeing exactly what it'll cost me. 1 to 12 forging potential, right? I only have 10, so there's a chance this will fail. If it fails, I'll remove this now. If it fails, I will not get the upgrade and the item will be broken. Now, broken doesn't mean unusable. It just means I can't craft anymore with it. So let's try and do this. All right, I managed to do it. It cost me 1, just 1. It's RNG. Let's try again. So this will cost me 1 to 12 again, and I have 9 left. It costed me 7, which means I can continue if I want to. So let's do that. Now this will break it, I think. Oh, I was very lucky. So what happened here is that I managed to get exactly the amount of forging potential needed without breaking the item. So this item has the upgraded intelligence there without breaking it. But if I were to really just show how this works, this has no 0 as well. That's okay. Let's go and get something. Whoops. Didn't mean to do that. Let's go and buy an item and break it so you can see what I mean. So we'll go in here and we'll buy, I don't know, this axe. This axe seems fine. Now, breaking an item in this game isn't necessarily the worst idea, because getting a stat upgrade for the chance of having it could be more worth than the chance of breaking the item. So obviously there's suffixes and prefixes. So if I wanted extra fire damage here, I can add that. And it will cost me forging potential to do that. So I did that now. So let's say that I want to upgrade the melee void damage here. Now you just keep clicking. See? It's critical success. That was lucky. That can happen. And that will get an extra tier. I'm being very lucky today here. Jesus. Okay. Alright, well, the item has no forging potential left. So most of the time, the item will just break. But they may have actually removed that system. Which, I mean, that would be nice. I haven't played since the last update, so... Now, the game has... I'm in the end game here, if you're wondering where I am. And the game has, like, different eras that you play in. Because you are a time traveler sort of guy, so... You do hop around quite a lot here. Now, in this little end game here, there is sort of mapping, kind of. And the way that works is you'll hop from map to map to map to map in like a lineage sort of thing until you get to the end, and then you fight a boss and then it resets. So here I can pick, oh, I can go this way or I can go that way, and then you see I can continue, and it will give different modifiers and rewards, and it's quite fun actually, because you build this up. You get little quests, and yeah, then you end up at the end, and yeah. So some of them provide stability, some of them take away. So it's risk reward. The other end game part is if you can sometimes find a key that allows you to open an arena, which you can fight in, right? So it's like a survive thing. Those two are fine. There's no problem with them. The end game is okay. You gain access to the end game roughly around level 30. That's when you can start doing this stuff. I think that's a good thing, because then you can take a break from the campaign if you don't like it, and you can like do this thing instead. Now, I'll hop onto my Sorcerer in order to show you exactly what I mean with mana. Because mana in this game is extremely punishing. Like, I'm talking extremely punishing. So, if I hold down the button, it will look like anything you'd expect. But the problem is when you use a lot of mana at once. So if I were to... This is a very cheap spell. Normally they aren't. So if we sort of break this down here, you'll notice that I can actually keep going quite a while. But then I reach 0. And you can go over the cap of mana you have. But the more expensive the spell, the more you'll take in percentage. Now this could be bad, because you can end up killing yourself. So you need to go back into plus before you can actually use the spell again. So it doesn't work exactly like most of these games. It will allow you to go into minus once. And after that, you'd have to get your mana back again. And mana in this game can be quite punishing. I have a lot of intelligence on this character, which I will show you. Which means that I have a lot of ward retention, but also a lot of... I have almost no attunement. Now, mana in this game comes back on its own. Like, there is mana regen you can get on stuff, which I think I have some somewhere. Yeah, see? Mana regen. That's the only way to get it. So, you better have some way to get mana back, because otherwise you'll be quite distressed. Now, I want to talk about the last part of the game. Like, if I were to play and I hop into a random area, you'll notice something pretty fast. So if I open into Imperial area here, let's hop into, I don't know, this area, whatever. I'm not gonna spoil anything of the game, by the way. If you're interested in this game, you can find out on your own, the story and all that. Now, this build is quite interesting. You'll notice something pretty fast. I remember the first section of the game where I played and I killed a lot of stuff and I did all these things. The game sort of lacks blood after that point. Like, there isn't very much visceral sort of impact, I guess, showcase. Because a lot of the stuff you're fighting are undead. Not always, but a lot of it is. So if you were expecting a gore fest on this game, you're not gonna get it. Like, there's some visual stuff like here. That's why I went to this area, because it has a lot of blood. But these enemies should give you some blood, but there's no like dismemberment. Which I think if the game had more impact, the combat would be a lot more fun, which make the game more accessible to play for a lot of people. Now, there's last part of the game that I do not like, and I will mention it because I think it's wrong, and I will hop on my necromancer to show it. Yeah, this is the part of the game that I do not like, and I'm quite scared of, actually. If you go into the inventory, you'll notice something immediately. Well, first off, this part of the game I haven't mentioned. We can do that first. In Diablo 2, you had like little trinkets you put in your inventory, and they'd be like, ooh, you know, increases. You have an actual inventory idle slot for this, so that's quite fun. And they can be quite powerful. You know, it's not bad. But now to the part that scares the crap out of me with games like this. Yep, this part. Now, the game doesn't have a microtransaction store yet, but it will, apparently. According to the developers, they mentioned it at some point. This part of the game, I do not like. This part of the game is not good. You're already making people pay $30 or euros, whatever the regional equivalent is, for this game. And you shouldn't have a microtransaction store in it. If you wanted to have one, you should have made the game free and then moved on from there. Like Path of Exile, or League of Legends, or Valorant, whatever. This is not good. Like, this part of the game scares me, because sure, some people are gonna say, oh, it's just skins, it's just optional, it's just, yeah, it is just skins, and yeah, it is just optional, but it is time taken out of other things that had nothing to do with the game's sort of development. And for now, they haven't added anything or done anything, so for now that still holds true. They're spending all of their money or time with what I suppose is, well, making the game better, look better, feel better, perform better. But at some point, that's going to get added. And I don't like it. I just don't like it. I think it's bad. Now, another pet peeve of mine, like I mentioned this earlier in the video, the game runs like, well, it's not great If I turn this game up to max, my graphics card would start up heavily, and it will run, you know, 78, 80 degrees immediately. And the game doesn't look good enough for that to be warranted. But obviously the game, I think it's Unit Engine, I'm not too sure. So this is the showcase for last Epoch. Do I recommend it? If you like hack and slash games, action games like Diablo, Path of Exile, Grim Dawn, yeah. If you've played Grim Dawn, you've gone through Path of Exile, Titan Quest is done and dusted, Diablo 2, you've played like thousands of hours and you've got nothing left, and this is what you crave, yeah, I'd give it a go. Worst case scenario, you don't like it right now, maybe it'll get better when the early access is released or finished. But for now, yeah, it's okay. It's pretty good. Yeah, has a lot of good ideas. Crafting systems very good. The skills and talent systems, I like it. And if you want to see how it looks like when it's developed, it looks like this. And what does this do? Well, normally it would summon a bone golem, but because I've spec'd into it, I've made him very tanky. And I made it so that he's a blood golem now, which means he uses a rip blood ability, which heals me. And I can have 2 of them. Well, they're weaker, but I can have 2 of them now. So you can sort of tweak and change and alter the skills quite a lot. And eventually, you'll be able to tweak it even further. Adding another golem. So, well, not another golem, but at least another type of golem. So there are ways to tweak and fine-tune, and so I mean, I'd say it's pretty good. But that's gonna be it from me. I'm not gonna plug myself because fuck that shit. Bye.